AITA for evicting a tenant because they got pregnant? I am not op. Original post by you, AITA 1231 in R. Amethyst Hole. And NBSP. AITA for evicting a tenant because they got pregnant? The 1st of September 2020. Yes. I know the title sounds awful. But please do hear me out before making a judgment. I will accept whatever judgment I'm given. 30 meters. Purchased a 3-bedroom condo in Toronto, Canada 5 years ago when I was in my second year of medical residency. Soon after the purchase, I rented one of the rooms to my roommate, F29, to offset the costs of the mortgage. I live in one room. She lives in the second, and the third is my study, office. She has been a great roommate from the beginning. We aren't necessarily friends, as in we don't do things together for fun, but we get along exceptionally well. The entire roommate-tenant relationship has gone swimmingly up until recently. A couple of weeks ago, my roommate broke the news to me that she is pregnant. The father was a fling of hers, who does not want anything to do with the child. My roommate has decided she wants to keep the child anyways, and raise it on her own. To me that seems like a huge challenge, and I admire her for it. The issue is, while I don't necessarily dislike children, I have no desire to live with a baby. While the condo is a fair size, I will most definitely be woken up by the babies crying at night. My condo is also where I like to come home to and relax, like a haven after a long work day. And the idea of coming home to a baby honestly seems absolutely chaotic. Especially since this isn't my own child, i.e. one that my girlfriend and I decided to have, was mentally prepared for. As difficult as it was for me to do this, I told her essentially what I've written here, and that it would be best if she finds somewhere else to live. I am not rushing her out or anything like that. I have given her 6 months' notice, since any later than that will come too close to the birth. She was honestly quite taken aback by this, and thought that I was being cruel. Her primary concern is that rent has gone up substantially in this city since she signed on with me. I haven't increased her rent since she moved in, so she's essentially paying 2015 rent. She works as a waitress, and will likely need to find a lesser apartment to keep within the same budget. A couple of other considerations are that she was out of work while restaurants were closed, but I did waive her rent for that period. All of the furniture is also mine, aside from her bedroom, so she would need to figure something out on that front as well. Aside from all of the child expenses, I understand her position, and I feel horrible about the situation, but I honestly can't do it. AITA for this? Verdict. NTA. Edit. Thank you to everyone who has commented. There have been 2 great suggestions on how I can make this situation better, which I have taken to heart. I haven't been able to give life much thought lately, as work has been quite busy. Firstly, I have a friend in real estate, and I'm going to see if they can help her try to find some affordable listings. Secondly, as I don't plan to take on another tenant after her, and can afford to do this anyway, I have decided I'm going to waive her rent for the remainder of the tenancy. This will hopefully give her a bit of a boost to get on her feet. Edit 2. I'm just checking on this for the first time today. My God. I was not expecting anywhere near this many replies. Thank you to everyone who has commented. I am about to head into surgery, but I will do my best to get back to as many people as I can later today. Edit 3. Update. I am honestly overwhelmed by the amount of attention this has gotten. Thank you everyone that commented. Regardless of your opinion, I was planning to reply to as many posts as possible, but honestly, seeing as there are over 2,000 comments, I think I will have to just address some common questions here. I also have an update on the situation, and I wish everyone that's commented so far could receive notification to read it. So firstly, To anyone asking about the legality of the matter, I consulted an attorney to be 1000% sure. And this is perfectly legal. Since I live in the unit, the eviction laws are much more lenient. Secondly, to anyone that said I should allow her to live with me anyway, I challenge you to consider what the alternative would be. If this doesn't happen now, then when? Her baby will become a toddler. And a toddler eventually becomes a school-age child. Will it really be any better to do this later on? Or do you suggest that I let her raise the child here until they are 18? Finally, the update. When I came home from work today, I told her that I wanted to discuss the overall situation. Before I even began, she actually apologized to me for how she spoke to me, and for expecting that I would be okay for her to raise her child here. I told her that her apology is totally unnecessary, as her reaction was completely understandable considering the uncertainty of her future. I then told her that what I told all of you, that I would waive her rent for the remainder of her stay to help her get on her feet. She pushed back on this at first, but after I urged her to think of her child, she graciously accepted. Aside from this, I also told her about my friend who could help her out with finding some affordable listings in the area. I thought I might be overstepping there, but she was actually extremely thankful and said she would take me up on there. Finally, I want to thank you, Tutti Peachy Fruity, for probably the best piece of advice that I've read. I'm sure there are many more people that I should be thanking, but I honestly don't think I'll be able to read everything here. This was that I could help her obtain a more reliable work position at my hospital. Nothing fancy as she doesn't have any schooling, but it will be much more secure than waitressing. And once you're in, there's always ways to work your way up. There would also be benefits, maternity leave that I don't think restaurants usually offer. This was probably my biggest risk of overstepping, but when I mentioned the idea to her, she was actually over the moon. Tears were shed. I do agree that I acted in self-interest here, so I think it's the least I can do to make sure this soon-to-be mother and her child have some sense of security in their lives. Thank you again to everyone. This isn't an edit, but more of a request. Does anyone here know if it's possible to change your title to include something like updated? I really want everyone that commented to know that they all made a huge impact on a new mother's life. I can't thank you enough. Very glad that I made this post. And NBSP. Reminder, I am not the original poster. This oop is treating his tenant, who he doesn't even consider a friend, better than most partners here are treating their spouses. What a refreshing read. Adults being adult and communicating. How refreshing. Those crazy Canadians being nice and considerate of each other. I totally agree with his decision. I am also like him. Not necessarily disliking children, but I do not want to raise my own. Unfortunately, since I live with my family, my siblings have all married and are with children. I love my nephews and nieces, but I do admit that I would prefer to live in a child-free environment. What a refreshing story. Hope everything went smoothly for the two of them. I don't blame people for not wanting to live with a baby. I'm giving birth any day now, and I'm not looking forward to living with a baby again. I even absolutely love and adore this child already. Babies are rough. Two people discussing things maturely and rationally? What alternative universe is this? Question mark, exclamation mark. Not an asshole. Honestly, Op sounds like a really good landlord and level-headed person. Oof, finding housing in Toronto though. Such a Canadian AITA. Good peeps. I own a house and rent out 2 of the rooms, one to AM 41, the other to AM 24. I have told them both that it's a good idea to use protection because nobody will be raising any kids in my house. I think that's a good point to make early on for anyone who owns property they live on and rent out part of. I'm glad she was able to be more mature about it later on, but it was ridiculously naive of her to think she could just bring a baby into a shared rental like that and essentially rope Boop into supporting her pregnancy. I work in an operating room. Periop techs only regular a high school diploma and no medical background. It's usually full-time with benefits and consists of cleaning oars between cases and grabbing supplies for next cases. My son, who is going to school to be a math teacher, is doing this now. Many hospitals also train phlebotomy techs on the job, so there are opportunities that don't require degrees in the hospital setting that pay well. That was a great piece of advice. Yeah, honestly, there are so many full-time hospital jobs with benefits that people don't consider. Housekeeping, safety sitter, cafeteria, and unit secretary jobs generally require no schooling at all, and are often pretty easy to get with some customer service background. CNA, phlebotomy, and telemetry technicians are usually just a little schooling. All of it provides good background if you choose to move deeper into healthcare or medicine, and can be fairly flexible around school since it's a 24/7 facility. Man, in Canada, a job in the hospital is unionized. That lady will literally be set, if she doesn't do anything insane, for life and retirement. I mean, this ended nicely and all, but I just kept thinking, if she's a waitress and can only afford 2015 rent in a shared situation, how the hell is she going to afford to care for a child? Children are really expensive, and that's hard to swing as a single parent. But I grew up in poverty, so I just hate seeing people in bad financial situations having kids without taking that into serious consideration. It sucked, and I wouldn't wish that life on any kid. I really like it when people are being nice and adults and are both committed to looking for the best possible solution for everybody. As a person who rents a room in Toronto, I've had a family that rents another room and the baby cries more than any other baby I've heard before. I feel bad too, for the parents and for the child, because maybe something is wrong and kid is unwell. But I have such a hard time getting enough sleep and rest, or honestly even focus on anything. Because even with the windows and everything closed, it had been driving me crazy. I couldn't be happier when they just left recently. This guy is an amazing person. He humbly did all of these things out of the kindness of his heart and was still wondering if he was being an asshole, just for not wanting to live with a baby that wasn't his own. When he has a stressful job, didn't raise rent year over year, gave her 6 months notice, waived rent for her remaining time, offered his realtor's friend's assistance, offered to help her get a job at the hospital, where she'd have more stability, hopefully higher pay, more opportunity for advancement, benefits, and maternity leave, had a kind and direct conversation with her where he was careful about overstepping, was hugely concerned about thanking everyone on Reddit who gave him that advice and helped him help her. What a stand-up guy. Definitely the kind of friend, roommate, or doctor I'd want to have. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Only in Canada could two people be so nice.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.